Being a Christian is a vague way to define what religion you're a part of because there are so many denominations under Christianity. For example, there are Baptist, Lutherans, Presbyterian, Catholic, and Methodist, just to name a few. I'm a Methodist, and I'm going to inform you where Methodist originated from, what the symbol is and the meaning behind it, and some differences between other denominations that set the Methodist apart. See, a group was organized in 1729, led by brothers John and Charles Wesley, and that is where Methodist originated. They attended Oxford, where members of the Holy Club pledged to be, I quote, disciplined about their spiritual lives, and also perform works of social service, and that is from drew.edu. Other students began to call them Methodist because they were so disciplined to stick to their methods. They used this name to establish their own religion after having transforming religious experiences in 1738, and that is also from drew.edu. The Methodist Episcopal movement did not reach the United States until a meeting in Baltimore, Maryland, named the Christmas Conference, named so because the time of the year was held. Ministers were ordained, ministerial appointments were made, and the new policies were chosen. Thus began the United Methodist Church. The symbol for the Methodist is a cross with a single flame with two tongues spitting out. There are many different ways to draw this symbol, and churches have their own variation, but I chose this one because it gave the clearest meaning of what I am trying to describe. The symbol came from the union of two denominations in 1968, the Methodist Church and the Evangelical United Brethren Church, and that is from emmanuelumchurch.org. The symbol relates the Methodist Church to God through the cross and to the Holy Spirit through the flame. The flame is a reminder of Pentecost when witnesses were unified by the power of the Holy Spirit and saw tongues as of fire from Acts 2:3. And that information came from emmanuelumchurch.org. The two tongues of a single flame are also believed to be a representation of the two denominations coming together. Another reason the symbol is associated with the flame is because of all the references throughout the Bible dealing with fire. For example, the fire of creation separated the mountains from the sea, and God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. It is also a representation of the Holy Spirit burning in our souls, making us want to be a better Christian and live a better life. The website says that with the cross and the flame, we say, as United Methodist, we believe God saves us through Jesus Christ and empowers us with the Holy Spirit to make a difference in the world. And all of that information came from emmanuelumchurch.org. There are some ways that Methodists stand apart from any other denomination, such as Baptists or Catholics. For example, Methodists tend to be less strict regarding what is required for belief and more open to accepting differences of opinion among believers, and that is from allexperts.com. I know Methodists practice communion with grape juice instead of wine, and at my church, we practice communion by intinction, which means you take the bread or wafer and you dip it in the juice yourself. Another thing we practice is that anyone who believes in Jesus Christ can be a part of communion. You do not have to be a member of my church to practice this ritual. Specifically, Methodists differentiate from Baptists in several ways. For example, Methodists recognize that God's grace is received through many various instrumental means, whereas Baptists believe that God's grace is received normally directly upon the believer apart from any means, and that is from allexperts.com. This means that Methodists receive grace from the sacraments, prayer, reading the Bible, fellowship with other Christians, forgiveness, healing, and etc. The baptism is also a difference between the two denominations. Baptists baptize by immersion only, whereas Methodists baptize through immersion, pouring, or sprinkling of the water. and they also will baptize infants, young adults, and adults as well. There are many more differences between these two, but this just names a few so you can get an idea. Methodists differ from Catholics in many ways, but one of the more obvious ones would be that the Methodists do not affirm the Pope as being the head of the church, and that is from allexperts.com. The Methodists only have 2 sacraments, whereas the Catholics have 7. The worship style is definitely less formal than the Catholics, and the Methodist ministers have more freedom in the type of robes they can wear. And all of this information is from allexperts.com. These are just the minor differences, but they are differences none the least. In conclusion, I told you how I was a Methodist and where it originated, what the symbol was and the meaning behind it, and some differences between Methodism and other denominations, and I used examples of Baptists and Catholics. Through this speech, I'm not trying to say my religion is better than anyone else's, or being a Methodist is better than any other denomination. I just wanted to explain a little bit of my background and what I believe. I learned a little more also about being a Methodist, and hopefully you learned a little more about what being a Methodist is as well. Thank you for listening.